Any other additions or changes to the agenda? Councillor Paula Banks, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to remove the Rideau Lakes grassroots as a delegation. If I could get a seconder?
Yep.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Now, I would just comment that it's very unusual that we do not allow delegations to appear or to speak. We give them the normal 10 minutes per the procedure bylaw. Is there a procedure that allows us to remove a delegation, Madam Clerk?
Council members are allowed to put motions forward for amendments to the agenda, and if this is one of them, that's permitted.
Okay, then I'll call for any discussion or debate. Councillor Paula Banks, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry. I have maintained all along that this is a very divisive group. This group only targets 5 council members of this 9-member group. And they have done this since we turned down the hub and we announced our intentions to rebuild the whole library in Portland and to retrofit this office. They have attacked us nonstop in media, in the newspaper, on Facebook, by sending letters to this council. They've attacked the 5 members of us as well as staff. We've let this go for long enough, I feel. We also recently found out, after denying it for months, that 2 council members have been supporting this group, and we are going to be looking into that further. So until that is discussed and looked into, I would like to defer this delegation, please.
Defer or deny?
I would like to defer it until we find out the exact involvement of the 2 council members that we have recently found out were involved in supporting this group, and if in fact the blue flyers, which I've been told came out of this office, in fact did. So I would just to defer it until we get more information, please.
And I'll ask for any other discussion. Councillor Jeff Banks.
Yeah, I'm really having trouble with this, and allowing this delegation to go forward is, I find it's insignificant, it's immaterial, and it's inappropriate. I mean, they have lied and accused staff and 5 councillors of wrongdoing. They've assaulted the councillor at this table, and they've divided us with lies and misinformation. And I have to say to you, Worship, I'm losing confidence in you by allowing this on the agenda. I think it's terrible that we have this happen with what has happened with the Integrity Commissioner and all the stuff that's happened in the last 4 or 5 months. And I find that we're losing control. I mean, this is rubbing salt in the wound, and it has to stop. And I'm hoping that the rest of council supports it and that we defer this until, you know, we find out some more information that we've been trying to find out since the last month also. I've been at this for a long time, and this is unprecedented that this is allowed to happen, so.
Well, Councillor Banks, what's unprecedented would be to deny a delegation. And first of all, I will indicate that I have had nothing to do with arranging this delegation, requesting this delegation. This delegation came through staff, and staff had no opportunity to deny members of the public to be a delegation. So other comments or questions from the public? Councillor Delaney, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with you. I don't think we should be denying the public a chance to have a delegation. We're changing the rules all the time around here and trying to block the public from certain meetings or certain events, and I really don't think that's a good way to be. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Hutchins, please.
Thank you. I like freedom of speech, and because if we don't get to have freedom of speech, we have nothing in Canada. But I've been accused of being number 5. I don't know where I'm in to be put. I have my own brain.
Councillor Hutchins, please address the
I
chair,
will.
please, not
Yeah.
the audience.
Well, I'm just saying.
So I can hear you.
Okay. I respect everybody, and I'm supposed to honor you. And I'm trying really hard to do what's right with everybody. But you can be put like a monkey in the middle, and, I don't know quite what to say. I don't know how to fix this.
Okay.
My heart is that everybody gets along. I did nothing wrong. I can handle whatever you can throw at me. I don't care. And when I cry, I'm extremely angry. I'm not weak. It's best that I cry. So anyways, I just wish everybody friggin' grow up. This is something like I had in grade 3, 5 in school. Just drop the whole friggin' thing and let's do the business of the township. What we're supposed to be voted in to do. I may vote for things that people don't like, but I try to do the majority of what people want. And I'm not gonna be bullied by somebody to say on and on and on and on and on, you didn't do what I wanted. Well, if I didn't do what you wanted, I don't do what other people want, I don't do what Clarence wants me to do. So anyways, I'm not a group. I have my own brain and my own, and this is just the most stupid thing I've ever seen.
Okay.
So can we please just drop it all? Just drop it all and go on forwards, because the more we go, the more everybody's getting hurt, and I like everybody. There's nobody I don't like. I don't like what people do sometimes, but I like them all. So please, don't push me into a part where I don't like people, because that's not my personality. So, that's my 2 cents.
Anyone else wish to speak to the motion to deny the delegation? Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you, sir. Well, I think Councillor Hutchings started off at the beginning correctly. Denying freedom of speech is not the way to go. And I think denying it is only going to aggravate the situation even more with the public. They do have a right to voice their opinion, and it may not always be what we want to hear or like or agree with, but they have their opinion. So I don't have a problem with hearing what they have to say.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to it who hasn't spoken? All right, then I'll allow a second time around, but that then I'll call the question. Councillor Paula Banks, please.
I find it strange that councillors would talk about freedom of speech and transparency, and yet 2 councillors, I know for a fact, have been lying to the rest of us and staff for months. And we have asked them over and over if they aided and helped this group. And they had told us no, 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 no. Then I find out, yes, they did help this group. And I had someone reach out to me to tell me that those flyers were actually distributed from this building or at this property. I asked council if that was true, hoping that someone would reach out and say, Paula, of course that isn't true. Not a single councillor replied to that email. So that makes me assume it is true. Unless someone is going to tell me right now that those flyers were not distributed on the day we had a team building barbecue in this building after the 5 of us, either before we came or after we left.
Okay. Councillor Paula Banks, I do not appreciate you accusing other members of council as being a liar.
I'm not accusing.
Yes, I heard you say that specifically, and if you do have that kind of accusation, then there are routes that you can take to bring those concerns forward. They're not going to get resolved at this table. We have an integrity commissioner, we have an ombudsman, and you can proceed on that fashion. I'm now going to go to Councillor Hutchings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just didn't say that before, so I'll say it twice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the first time and this time. When I said freedom of speech, that goes for both sides, like it's an equal pendulum. And I'd like to hear, what somebody's all about, but I'm not gonna, nobody's spoken yet, but if they're not gonna attack me, I'd be fine. Because I have no clue what they're all about. But at the same time, the attacking has to stop. But communication can begin. And so I just want to make sure, free speech goes both ways. And just keep that in mind, and let's not be attacking anybody else on either side of the pendulum on this and here, and let's just get to business.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hutchins. I will try to ensure that any delegation that's heard at this table is not
Or in the,
attacked.
in this council chambers.
All right,
It goes for both ways.
unless someone else wishes to speak first or a second time, I'm going to call the question. The motion, as I understand it, is that moved by Councillor Paula Banks, second by Councillor Jeff Banks, is to deny the delegations from the grassroots organization.
Defer.
To defer.
Defer until further information is received.
Yes, please. And could I have a recorded vote on that and accepting the agenda, please?
Okay,
Thank you.
motion is then to defer the delegation. So, heard the motion. There's been a request for a recorded vote. Please call the vote, Madam Clerk.
Councillor Jeff Banks.
Yes.
Councillor Paula Banks.
Yes.
Councillor Delaney.
No.
Councillor Hutchings.
Yes, to defer.
Councillor Maxwell.
No,
Councillor Pollard.
No.
Deputy Mayor Kerr.
Yes.
Mayor Hoogenboom.
Yes. Sorry, no. The motion is to defer, I'll vote no. So
So it's
I
a-
believe it's a five vote,
It's a 4-4 vote.
4-4
So it's
vote? Okay, so the motion's lost, so we will hear the delegation. I will now move on to the motion. I have it moved by Councillor Jeff Banks, seconded by Councillor Hutchings. Be it resolved that the agenda be approved and adopted as amended. You've heard the motion, discussion on that motion. And I'll call the question. All in favor?
You wanted to, sorry, Councillor Banks, vote on this.
Okay. Then you're calling for a recorded vote that the agenda be approved and adopted as amended, with it being the addition of correspondence under 10.3.
Okay. Councillor Jeff Banks.
No.
Councillor Paula Banks.
No.
Councillor Delaney.
Yes.
Councillor Hutchings.
No.
Councillor Maxwell.
yes,
Councillor Pollard.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kerr.
No.
Mayor Hoogenboom.
Stuck in the middle.
Yes. So where do we go now?
We don't have an adopted agenda.
We don't have adopted agenda. So is that a cancellation of the meeting?
yeah.
Yes.
I would ask council to please think about the fact that the staff have put an awful lot of effort into this entire agenda. There's a lot of decisions that are time sensitive. And if we can't come to an agreement on dealing with the issues on the agenda, then we're not, then the business of the township comes to a standstill.
You need a motion to reconsider.
Then I'll ask for a motion to reconsider the agenda as amended.
Question.
Councillor Hutchings. You have a
It's
question?
almost, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It sounds like we're putting the staff in the middle of this, in between us, that it could be like a pull me around. It's not anybody's fault that what's going on here. It is kind of, but it's not. Sue, when Sue comes back, we can rehash this whole thing all over again, because she can pull a thing and pull things out just like Councillor Pollard did. So if that's in consideration too, we're gonna be chewing this over twice.
That is correct.
So that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I would ask council's consideration to at least, the issue is around the delegation. And the delegation has been approved to be heard, okay? I would suggest that we hear the delegations. We have 2 delegations. We have another delegation as well. And we have a lot of business on our plate. There's a lot of things that we wanted to consider and move forward and have council's input on. So to not have a motion for reconsideration and to have the agenda go forward, I think the point's been made that half of this council doesn't want to hear the delegation, and half the council's willing to hear the delegation.
You deferred.
Well, the motion to defer it
It's
It was
not that
defeated.
we don't want to hear.
Was defeated. So then I have to hear the delegation.
So,
Councillor Banks, Jeff Banks.
if we were to put it back on the floor to have another vote for reconsidering of deferring the delegation, then that would probably be a positive point that we could move forward, but we need one of yourself or the other three councillors to say, yes, we'll defer the delegation. I think that's the right thing to do. We're all blindsided by this, so let's defer the delegation, because then we can get on with business. If we don't defer the delegation, we're not getting on with business. This is a simple thing. I'm s-
Councillor Banks, we're not blindsided by the delegation. This delegation met the timelines, talked to staff, was on the agenda.
Yeah.
So, we're not being blindsided by anything.
No.
What we're being blindsided by is
So-
the fact that we're not going to be undertaking any business at all today,
Well,
if that's the case.
It's important to realize that we won't do business because 4 people on this council refuse to defer the delegation. And I think that's a point that we need to do, is say, okay, let's defer the delegation, they'll get another shot at it, and we will move forward. That's the balance I think that we have to have. So one of the 4 have to say, yes, I'm willing to defer it, and then we can continue on with the business of this township. It's important that we move forward. We're not gonna move forward. We're at a roadblock here. I mean, the thing is, the most important thing today is to move forward with the business at hand. It's not the delegation. So let's move forward with the business at hand, and I'll respectfully ask you to say, yes, I will support deferring the delegation.
I'm not prepared to defer the delegation. The delegation's gone to the trouble to come meeting,
Yes.
to book time, to speak to council, and I don't know what they're gonna say. And if there's an attack involved there, then that will be cut off. But the bottom line is, we should not be throwing out all of this effort because 4 of you do not want to hear a group speak for 10 minutes.
Yeah, but we should not throw all this out because the 4 of you want to hear a group speak for 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So it's,
Six to one,
we're
half
looking in a
dozen
mirror,
here.
we're not
No,
moving
I'm not.
forward.
This is ridiculous, folks.
It is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
But when you were doing the
Council-
agenda on Thursday, why wouldn't you say, this is gonna cause controversy in the council?
We've had delegations here before that caused controversy.
Not like this.
And we cannot say to them, you cannot come, and to defer it to the next meeting, for example, if there's, all 9 of us are here, they may get told we're not willing to hear them again.
But would you-
That's not appropriate,
When you
Councilor
were
Banks.
doing-
From a transparency perspective, that is not appropriate, and I will not support that.
It's not cutting them off, it's just deferring. That's all it is.
If we're not attacked, there's no problem with hearing them,
Well,
okay? And
that
if
would
you
be my
can-
expectation.
And if you can handle that, sir,
I will handle that.
okay, or I'll do 911. I'm not kidding, it's rare.
Okay, Councilor Paula Banks.
I think Councillor Hutchings was making a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion, sorry. I do love that the mayor used the term blindsided, because that's how we felt when Councillor Pollard told us that they were handing out flyers with him and Councillor Maxwell. So I do feel blindsided, and that's why I'm against this delegation coming forward. They've been telling us for months that they weren't handing them out, and now we find out they were. So yes, we do feel blindsided, and yes, we are upset. I would allow the delegation to speak if I felt I was gonna be given the opportunity to ask questions. But I've been cut off before when a person from that group came in here and inferred that they were going to sue me. I was not allowed to ask questions. So that is the main reason why I'm nervous about this delegation going forward, that we will not be allowed to defend ourselves or ask questions.
Councillor Paula Banks, let me correct you on that, and I did email you on this, that I always allow members of council with delegations to ask questions, always. It's simply if there's questions at the end of the meeting, it's only the chair and the staff that provide clarification. So there is no attempt here to muzzle anybody. You will be given the opportunity to ask questions of the delegation. It will be up to the delegation if they wish to answer them, but that has always been the case in every council meeting that I've ever chaired. Follow up.
Thank you, Mayor, that isn't exactly the whole truth.
That is absolutely the full
Can I finish,
truth.
please? May I finish?
You may finish, but I will criticize you if you tell me I'm wrong.
Grassroots have sent in numerous letters defaming us to this agenda. When I was a resident, I sent in one letter in February 2023 criticizing the mayor's choices with the hub. The clerk sent it back to me and made me change that letter, or I was not allowed to submit it on the agenda. We have asked several times to have stuff removed from this agenda, and never once have we been able to do that. So, in my view, it's who you are, whether or not you get attacked on the agenda. I will put a motion forward to allow this delegation to go forward if they're willing to answer our questions.
Well, till I hear the delegation, I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not gonna ask them ahead of time, ahead of them being a delegation. The motion would need to be for reconsideration to move forward with the rest of the agenda. And do I have a mover for that? Madam Clerk, you have a comment.
So the motion should be reconsiders the motion to adopt the agenda, so if that passes, then you go back to the
That's right.
motion again to adopt the agenda.
So is there a motion to
Are we going to be
reconsider?
allowed to ask questions?
You'll always be allowed to ask questions. You've always been allowed to ask questions of delegations. That hasn't changed.
Would you
Why would that
support-
change now?
Would you second that? Allowing them to talk? with
Do I have a mover for a motion to consider? Otherwise, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and we'll
I'll move it,
live
Debbie will second.
to discuss this another day.
I'll move it, and Debbie will second it.
The motion is moved to reconsider by Councillor Paula Banks, seconded by
Me?
Councillor Hutchings. Any discussion on that?
So what are you saying?
We're gonna redo the motion for the agenda.
This is a motion to reconsider the last motion that was just defeated on a tie vote. Councillor Jeff Banks, you wish
Yeah.
to discuss this?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comment, and I'm gonna say that it's time that we start moving forward with the council business, and we stop the nonsense with the attacks on five of us and the split in this council, and we start moving forward. It's gonna be a long, long time, and I don't think it's gonna happen in this term. It'll probably be the next term that this is gonna happen. But that's incumbent upon you as the chair of this organization to make sure that we move forward and we stop the nonsense.
Okay. Well, I think it's incumbent on all of council to move forward.
Yeah.
I have one vote like everyone else. All right. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion to reconsider? Councillor Hutchings, please.
When we don't attack or say anything about the other guy, that means I don't attack anybody, and nobody attacks. We have a communication of what the group's all about, or whatever they wanna say, but we're not gonna attack each other.
Thank you for that.
One and the same.
Okay, I'm going to call the question then. All in favor of reconsideration? Motion is carried. Now I'll go back to the main motion, which was moved by Councillor Jeff Banks, seconded by Councillor Debbie Hutchins. Be it resolved that the agenda be approved and adopted as amended. Any further discussion on that? Then I'll call that question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, members. And I'll welcome to the podium Wendy Alford. And Ms. Alford, you were of course here for the discussion we had earlier, so I will cut you off if I feel that you're attacking anyone at the table. But I do appreciate the fact that we're here to hear your presentation.
Thank you and good morning. I'm having a ball so far. Mayor Hugenboom and Council, I am Wendy Alford, as the Mayor said, and I'm here as a spokesperson for the Rideau Lakes Grassroots Group. We shorten it up and refer to it as RLGG. It's a lot of words. I'm accompanied this morning by our group's two other spokespersons, Dan Birdie and Howard French. RLGG is here as a delegation to help raise awareness of this council on the genesis and mission of our group. We felt that we needed to do this because councillors have made misleading statements, have some misinformation, have relied on some assumptions, and have also made some accusations about the nature of our group. In particular, at the last May 6th meeting, Councillor Paula Banks referred to RLGG as a hate group and falsely accused our group of physical and other forms of harassment. As a group, we felt that RLGG could not let that stand unchallenged, and we approached the clerk for delegation status. First, I think it's relevant to highlight the commonly used definition of hate group, just so we're all on the same page. A hate group is a social group that advocates and practices hatred, hostility, or violence toward members of a race, ethnicity, nation, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, or any other designated sector of our society. In contrast, I want to quote the official guide for Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Everyone has the following fundamental freedoms: freedom of conscience and religion, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media or communications, freedom of peaceful assembly, and freedom of association. These freedoms are set out in the Charter to ensure that Canadians are free to create and express their ideas, gather to discuss them, and communicate them widely to other people. These activities are basic forms of individual liberty. They're also important to the success of a democratic society like ours, both in Canada and in our township. In a democracy, people must be free to discuss matters of public policy, criticize governments, and offer their own solutions to social problems. That's the end of the quote from the Charter of Rights and Freedom. Bringing the discussion back to Rideau Lakes grassroots groups, over the early summer of 2023, at various public and private events and venues, many citizens of Rideau Lakes expressed common concerns at the decisions being made and directed by members of this council. In August 2023, at the first in-person meeting of RLGG, residents from across the township decided to create a group that would act as a voice for the broader community, and the Rideau Lakes grassroots group was born. There have been accusations made by councillors at this table that RLGG was created and is directed by a township councillor and/or working for the mayor. We've heard both. It may be that those accusations stem from an uncomfortable feeling for some councillors that citizens were actually disturbed enough to the degree that they were organizing to oppose them. But let me be crystal clear. We take direction from no one, and we are self-funded and self-managed. RLGG has evolved organically. As more people expressed interest in supporting our efforts, we became more organized. With both, we realized that as a group, we needed to enhance our communications and openly share our purpose, our research, and our opinions. To that end, we decided on a name. I've already told you what the name is. Created a website and a Facebook page to share thoughts, positions, and opinions online. In consultation with many of our supporters, we developed a mission statement that would serve to express our common purpose, as well as help to focus our efforts. Our mission statement says to provide a voice for all residents and businesses in all wards of Rideau Lakes Township, including those in villages, on lakefronts, and in rural properties, to ensure that Township's Council represents their interests in all financial and communication undertakings in a professional manner. Our mission is published on our website, and you will note there contains absolutely no element of any hate of any kind. Rather, it embodies the Canadian Charter of Rights, and I quote again, to be free to discuss matters of public policy, criticize governments, and offer their own solutions to social problems. Despite these stated rights and freedoms, RLGG does operate with some self-imposed constraints. As our online presence started to grow and RLGG began to respond to township issues that were being discussed, both at council meetings as well as on social media, many residents, supportive residents from across the township, communicated to our group they were afraid to openly express support for RLGG, and perhaps more disturbing, to voice opinions contrary to the decisions of council. They expressed the fear that many would face backlash, intimidation, and be ostracized, not only by some on council, but also other residents who aggressively support the same councillors on social media and at PD or public events. So they asked that their participation remain anonymous, and we have respected that, and we will continue to do that. We've seen in the most recent meetings regarding the Integrity Commissioner, as well as several occasions at this table at which RLGG has been maligned, or their spokespersons have been maligned, those concerns were not unfounded. At the April 2nd meeting, addressing the recommended consequences for code of conduct violations, 3 councillors spoke against and voted down the penalty. Councillor Dunfield expressed the view that the public should not question or debate the integrity of its elected representatives. That statement in and of itself is telling. RLGG faced criticism for being an anonymous group. With the growth in our local public profile and our advocacy efforts, it became evident that complete anonymity was not conducive to our credibility. Yet at the same time, we did not want to compromise the privacy concerns of so many of our supporters. These supporters include everyone, senior citizens, business owners, prominent citizens, or well-known citizens, along with many others. Most of them were not prepared to endure any kind of intimidation tactics. Our eventual decision was to identify public spokespersons for the group who felt prepared to face any intimidation that might be levied at them, but to continue to publicly inform and defend the perspectives of RLGG. And all 3 of us are here today. The strategies RLGG uses to raise awareness, promote discussion, and challenge councillors on their positions and decisions include engagement in social media discussions, publishing blogs on our website, letters to the editor, media interviews, emails to council, attendance and monitoring of council meetings, along with emails both to and from our supporters. Some of the private emails that we get, and I'm just going to take bits of them so that you know what's on those people's minds, I'm upset with. That's how they start very often. A 20th century hall for 21st century needs. A complete lack of care about the other part of municipalities, the municipality, lack of respect for the opinions of staff, ignoring proper governance. There's some of bits out of different emails. It would be more accurate to state that RLGG's direction is directly influenced by the councillors at this table with whom we take exception. We watch, we listen, we hear from supporters, we research, and we respond with words and participation in public events, things like the strategic plan that's coming up. It may be of interest to council and to the public observing, although we've existed for less than a year, we have seen significant growth and interest in our work. Since January 2024, the Rideau Lakes Grassroots Group website has had 2,280 views, of which 630 are new and 650 are regular visitors. Our Facebook friends have increased by 40%. 90% of our audience are permanent or seasonal residents in Rideau Lakes. We have stated publicly and more than once that we do not agree with, encourage, or support any form of verbal or physical harassment, and no person or persons who behave otherwise represents RLGG. There are also still certain councillors seem to perceive that those who openly express displeasure or disagreement with their positions as attacking them. That's not the case. There also seems to be a broad assumption that every voice of opposition is directed by RLGG. Our group appreciates the support throughout all the wards, but not every voice of opposition or someone who thinks like RLGG does is linked to or known to Rideau Lakes Grassroots Group. Nor will RLGG accept any accusation or innuendo that we promote violence or hate anyone. Our communications and actions are based on facts obtained by viewing council discussions and on research of publicly available documents. We share our opinions and inform and promote causes relevant to Rideau Lakes. We have remained respectful, but we will not be silenced or intimidated from expressing views, and we will vigorously defend our right to speak, criticize, or challenge our elected officials. The public engagement that many current councillors champion is not only going to come from those who agree with them. Councillors are expected to respect the Code of Conduct and the Municipal Act and accept the consequences when either is contravened. Councillors are expected to abide by the township's rules, bylaws, and policies and not arbitrarily change them for some personal agendas. Councillors are expected to communicate with the public with civility, and to listen to all points with an open mind. Councillors are expected to represent our entire township and not just individual wards, and to make fact-based and objective decisions in the best interests of the entire township. Our LGG supporters have not demanded more than that and will not willingly accept. We won't be taking any questions, or you can ask them, but we won't answer them. Because based on past experience with our questions at this table or on emails, it wouldn't result in a productive exchange. So we thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm going to start by saying that there have always been critics of the mayor or members of council, and this group is probably no different. But it is the council that is the voice of the community. It is not one particular group or one particular individual. And Grassroots, in my view, is an opinion group, and they are free to challenge or criticize me or members of council as they see fit based on the decisions that we make. I would ask that you monitor your posts. Social media is a wonderful tool, but I think it needs to be fair and it needs to be appropriate. And it doesn't necessarily need to agree with decisions that we've made, but it has to be realistic. And how well we do our job that will be decided by the public at the next election, when people have the opportunity to change the faces if that is their desire. So I will allow questions, and I did hear the statement that you weren't prepared to take them, but I will allow, I guess, comments then from my members. And I will start with Councillor, everybody's waving their hands, so I'll start with Councillor Paula Banks, and then I'll go to Councillor Hutchings,
Okay,
and
so
then Jeff Banks. Go
I
ahead,
always
Councillor.
ask delegations a lot of questions, so don't take offense. Ms. Alford referred to the way we treated staff, so I was just going to ask the Grassroots. Two of their spokesmen, Howard French and Dan Birdie, sent letters to the agenda accusing staff and council of wrongdoing. The first one was accusing staff and myself of possible wrongdoing when it came to the Portside Pub. And Howard French sent in a letter accusing staff of wrongdoing when we were changing the procedural bylaws. Council had both of those issues looked into and staff were found innocent. And I just wondered, I was gonna ask Ms. Alford if they ever apologized to staff, but since she's not gonna answer, I'll just go to my next one. Mayor had sent me an email that the recreation agreement covers all sports and recreation facilities in Smith Falls, and that our residents pay no more than Falls to use them. As the next councillor, would you agree with that, Ms. Alford? Is it also correct that we pay Smith Falls 1% of all Rideau Lakes annual taxes to cover those recreation fees, which are mostly used by South Elmsley residents? The reason we do that is we do not provide South Elmsley residents with those recreation facilities. Can you please correct anything in that statement that is incorrect, Ms. Alford? My next question would have been, you say 5 of us have formed a block. Can you tell me what we have passed that your group opposes? Not what we have discussed, because we've discussed many things, but I was wondering if you could tell me 1 or 2 items that we have passed your group opposes. I was also going to ask, Mr. Birdie claims I personally submitted an application for a private business to take over management of the Portland docks from the township of Rideau Lakes. I was going to assure you that I not only did not do this, I also have never voted for a business to take over the public docks. So I was just going to ask if this information was fact-checked, or who gave you that information. Then if the CAO could bring up the Word document center.
Okay, I'm hoping there's an end to all the questions that we don't have a
Well,
dozen.
it probably would have been easier if they had been willing to answer, but
Okay, well, at least they're aware of your questions, which is a good thing.
You can't be biased on.
yeah.
something.
We got 10
Let her
minutes.
talk, let her talk.
So if you can center that, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Hang on, just gotta get my mouse on the right screen here.
Just go simple.
Okay, so as the grassroots members might recognize this, on the yellow on the right-hand side, it highlights the spokesman for the different people. And then I would assume this is the first place that everyone goes to find what this group is about and what they're doing. So I had asked the grassroots several times to fix this because it is a lie. And I also noticed that taxpayers had asked Ms. Alford to update it. And if you scroll down a bit, she comments to the taxpayers, misinformation is not what we do. We leave that to others. So I'm going to read their belief. There's an effort to assume control of the township decision-making process by a group of 5 councillors who form the majority when voting together on township matters. They very frequently align with each other and vote as a bloc to disregard sound advice from senior township staff on material, financial planning, and governance matters. They have conspired to stack the powerful planning, advisory, and committee of adjustments by expanding the committee to ensure all 5 are on it. I was going to ask Ms. Alford, who are the 5 members on the planning committee? Because I'm sure staff will tell you, 5 of us are not on the planning committee. So if you can't even get your about right, and it's a conspiracy theory, then I don't know why you think people would trust you, especially when I have asked you to correct it on 3 occasions, the taxpayers have asked you to correct it, and you yourself state misinformation isn't what we do, we leave that to the others. So my final question would have been, since it has been reported that the blue anonymous flyers that you handed out or helped hand out came out of this building or off this property, did any council members beside Councillor Maxwell and Councillor Collard help you hand out these flyers? Bob told me you gave him a box.
I would deliver a box to them.
I'm just
All right,
telling you what I was told.
I'm not-
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, which I'm sure they'll take note of. Are there other questions or comments? Councillor Hutchings, I had you next.
So I just want to thank you for coming today and giving your constructive criticism. I will take it into account, and I just want what's fair for everybody. And I'm sorry that I haven't really acknowledged you, because I was raised to face somebody and talk to them face to face. And there's only 3 of yous. You. And, sorry, I gotta go back to you. I'll go stand there for you. And
You can remain seated too,
no,
Councillor
I've
Hutchings.
gotta be able to stand up or twirl in my seat. So anyways, I was raised to go to the person and talk to them face to face if I had a problem with them first. Then, and I don't tell anybody else, but then my second thing is I go get somebody else, go talk, and just like it is in the Bible. Anyways, unless somebody, like there's just the 3 of you guys in my, like that I see, how do I really know that you have these people behind you saying this? It's like, it's the same as me saying, I said, you said, I said, you said. I don't see any proof of anybody standing behind you. They're not people. They're not, there's no names of them, there's no faces. So unless you can come in my face and ask me something and respect, I will respect you. And it just goes on and on. He said, she said, he said. And I'm related to most of the people in this township. And so is my husband. So you talk to people that turn around and they're my cousins, and they come back and talk to me. So, anyways, and some of my cousins are even infiltrated into your group. So, anyways, just everybody just stop it unless you got something you can say to somebody's face. come talk to them.
Okay,
That's my thing. Otherwise, you don't exist. There's only 3.
Okay.
That's what I think.
thank you, Councillor Hutchings. Councillor Jeff Banks, you wish to make a comment?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, as the, one of your proud members, is what we were told, she was a proud member, assaulted me here in this office. I don't know if you understand that, but that's hate. That's what that's called. And if you read into it, just what's written in the Charter of Rights is just not that. There's a lot of other things too, so. I was disgusted with that, and so I'm going to say that when you spread lies, you spread hate, and that's also a part of hate. And in September 23, a group of your Facebook page said, please don't forget to consider that the current municipal council offices are beyond repair, dilapidated. And that was from a report that we got as a full council I was here in 2021 when we got them, but it was given to full council in February after September. So I don't know where they fact checked that, because we don't even know if these buildings are beyond repair or they're dilapidated. I think that's a disgrace to say the place that we work is dilapidated, because that's not good for staff morale. And that's on Grassroots Facebook page. In May, a member of your group wrote Paula Banks deliberately redirected grants and petroleum funds from the R.E. Holman Center, and that the pickleball would only cost taxpayers $10,000. Councillor Banks is one vote. That's it. She can't redirect funds. There was no funds redirected. The funds were already designated to the Delta Park. So that needs to be corrected. And you can shake your head no all you want, because that's what's on the page and that's not what happened. I mean, that's the thing. Spreading the misinformation that comes from this group is a form of hatred, because it has divided this council and it has attacked our staff. I stand behind our staff 100%. I don't agree with probably the treasurer the most, because I don't know why, but it's to stop that nonsense too, because when staff are attacked with open letters to the editor against our clerk and our CAO, that's not appropriate. That's a form of hate, because then it puts us all into a split council. So it's got to stop. I can't even go on anymore. I mean, I'm so sickened by this. It makes me.
Okay.
No, it makes me want to throw up. I'm not even going to finish the sentence that I have to say, because I just want to leave the room and throw up, because you people don't know what our private life is about. And to emotionally cause us the despair that you have caused us, you should go outside and throw up with me, because I think if you understand what has happened in our family, maybe you might, and Mr. French, please don't laugh, like smile at it. It's really disgraceful.
Because based on past experience with our questions at this table or on emails, it wouldn't result in a productive exchange.
We've gone through a heck of a lot. She's been in a life-threatening car accident twice.
Mr. Banks, could you not speak to the audience?
Well,
Speak
I
to
know,
the chair, please.
yeah, I know. But that's where it's going. We have a lot of family problems, you know, with our kids, and so, I just can't, you know, this,
Okay. I
Your
think-
Worship, you have to understand what is happening with this council.
I understand
because-
exactly what's happening, and I'm hearing, inappropriate language from all parties, and I think, to Councillor Hutchings' comment, that has to stop.
Of course it is.
We have to stop attacking each other. Other comments or questions for the delegation that they've indicated they're not prepared to answer? All right, then I have a motion, just simply acknowledging the presentation. I have it moved by Councillor Maxwell, second by Councillor Pollard. Be it resolved that the Municipal Service Committee acknowledge the presentation by Wendy Alford, representative for the Rideau Lakes grassroots groups. You heard the motion, discussion?
Recorded vote, please.
Sorry, what?
Recorded vote, please.
Which is good.
Okay, this is just acknowledging the
I understand
presentation.
that.
All right. Then I'll call the question through the clerk.
Councillor Jeff Banks.
No.
Councillor Paula Banks.
No.
Councillor Delaney.
Yes,
Councillor Hutchings.
Please just repeat what the question is.
We're just acknowledging that they made a presentation.
I only made a presentation, but I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Well, the motion is simply what we do after every delegation, which is just simply recording the minutes that they made the delegation, and we acknowledge that we're not necessarily agreeing with the delegation, we're just simply agreeing that we acknowledge the presentation.
I acknowledge that she stood there and all talked.
I need
Madam Clerk?
a yes or no to.
Is that a yes
I
to-
don't know which way, which is what, because I think backwards, I'm dyslexic, so,
We hear a delegation?
The motion is to acknowledge the presentation by Wendy Alford, representative
You don't
of the Rideau Lakes grassroots.
You don't have
I can't ask you.
You're saying you acknowledge that it happened.
Yeah.
So I say yes.
Okay.
Yes, it happened. Okay. And I'm not stupid.
So, yes.
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell,
Yes.
Councillor Pollard,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Carr,
Yes.
Mayor Hooverman.
Yes. Motion's carried.
Correct.
Thank you, members.